Hey, we're at the 2022 Tri-City International Film Festival, TRIFI, and we're just getting underway this evening on a Friday evening, and we have a great slate of movies all weekend long, and hopefully you'll stop by and enjoy as much as you can. I'm Greg Martin, and joining me on my that would be my right,
Right. Yep.
your
My
stage
yep.
left,
Yep.
something like that, is Tony Moser. Moser.
You know what? I'm going to give you props. You're one of the first people to pronounce that right.
So it
It's
is
Moser.
Moser.
People usually put an H in there for some reason. They call it
Moser.
Moser. Yeah, and there's no H. So you did it right.
The H you say.
Yeah, there's a lot of H.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of
All
H.
right. So you have a film that has garnered a little bit of support here locally, something called All Ages, and about the music industry here in the Tri-Cities.
hmm Yeah, it's a documentary about the not music industry, but music scene here from like 1980s up until now. There's always been such a huge music scene here. Even when Seattle exploded and changed the world, there was a scene here, and all those people moved away and went to bigger cities. Like Nate, he went on to be in the Foo Fighters, and Karaoke, she went into Hammerbox and Goodness, and there's all these other people, and Isaac from Loudermilk, he's in like 3 or 4 different famous bands. So there's a lot of great musicians that come out of here.
Good place to breed the musicians that moved on, and that happens sometimes in areas. Why the Tri Cities though? That was such a breeding ground. Do you know?
That was a question I asked everybody. Like, I think in the 80s and the 90s, before internet, there was nothing to do, and it was a government town, and so all these kids wanted to, what's the word I'm looking for, go against what what the Tri-Cities world was here, and so what's interesting is their sound didn't sound like Seattle. It came from Washington, D.C. punk. And so you would think it would sound like Pearl Jam or Soundgarden or something, but it sounded like Fugazi or these other East Coast bands. And so I think it was just out of boredom. And so they wanted to start their own band. They had nothing to do. They didn't feel like they fit in, and so they just started it. And then it's just continued. I don't know why. I think it's something in the water that there's just continued. Even now, there's amazing like metal musicians, reggae, hip hop, folk, indie, anything you can think of, cover bands. There's just great musicians that come out of here. Why, I don't know.
I've had the opportunity of playing with a couple of bands here locally, mostly older kind of stuff, more classic rock, that kind of thing. But there's always been a really heavy music scene.
Mhm.
What was it about this that stood up to you and said, "I need to make a film about this"?
I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and I became friends with Karaoke on Facebook or something. And I was like, oh, it's kind of cool to see where she ended up. And then I just remembered my time here was like the early 90s. And so we had the Hoedown, we had the Fairgrounds, and 88.1. There was such a cool scene that we didn't realize it at the time. But stepping out of here, especially into Los Angeles, and you kind of see what's going on, it's like that was actually a really cool thing. And so I thought, well, someday I'm going to move back. I'm going to do that story. And so when I moved back, I was doing music videos for bands, and I saw there's still a great music scene here. And so I was like, I got to tell this story of a small town music scene that nobody outside of, and some people in Washington probably have never heard of Tri Cities. So I thought it was a story that needed to be told. It's great to hear the stories about the so and so moved to L.A. or Seattle and became this famous rock star.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
always a big story, but there's a lot more people.
There's a lot more people, so I find it more fascinating to the small town kid starts a band that almost makes it, doesn't make it, and these are the reasons why. It's not as easy. Just because you're talented doesn't mean you're going to be, the next Led Zeppelin or Rolling Stones or AC/DC or whatever. So it's so much more that goes into it. So yeah, it's just a cool story to tell, to show that not everybody makes it.
Kind of like your generation's That Thing You Do,
Mm-hmm.
which was my generation's.
Right.
That was my story. As I sat and watched that film, I went, "Oh, that was me. That was my
Right.
band. That
Right.
was, oh, we didn't make it."
Right, exactly. There's other cool things too. Like I said, we didn't have internet, so we had, we'd go out to the Delta, and where it's really, looking back, it's really dangerous. There was beer falls, and there was, all these other things. We had to find stuff to do because there was no cell phones. There was no, social media was going to the park or whatever.
Cruising up and down Clearwater and
Clearwater and getting arrested or getting a ticket because you're not supposed to cruise. But I don't know how that's a whole other thing.
ticketable offense.
Yeah,
That's something totally different. So the movie is well accepted at this point. You've had a lot of publicity locally, especially a lot of local people that were involved in it, radio station folks and community. What do you want the movie to do from here?
I don't know. I mean, I really originally just wanted to make it and throw it up on YouTube and see what happens. And then I saw that other people were really into it. It'd be cool if it inspired people to start putting on their own shows or have people understand how important it is to have a music scene. 'Cause if there's no music scene, it dies, and then music dies, and then we're in trouble. I'd like to do some other documentaries with better equipment this time, and maybe a team instead of all by myself, pretty much. I had some other people help shoot it, but I don't know. See where it goes. I mean, I'm happy where I'm at now, so if it goes to something cool, if it doesn't, I'm good with where it's at.
Cool. It's called All Ages and All Ages Show. And if you're so inclined and are looking forward to it, I think we're showing it here at the festival. Is it tonight? Tonight? At 8:30. All right. So if you're watching this, sometime in December, sorry you missed it. Where are you going to have it available? Will it be a YouTube-y thing or?
Eventually. Right now, it's on Vimeo. You can buy it. If you actually just go to allagesdoc.com, there's a link there to buy it, buy a streaming. And then if you want to buy a DVD, which I didn't think people still bought DVDs, but I've sold a ton of DVDs, so they can just find me on Facebook and say, hey, I want a DVD, and I'll sell you a DVD.
There you go. Tony Moser, thanks for spending some time with us.
Appreciate it.
All right. It's TRIFI, and we'll be back.